So fight for our paradise, fight for our life. So keep holding on until we break the spell. Be yourself, reach for the light in darkness and despair. If there comes a time when you are falling down, I'll be your savior. I'll be your savior.
Hello everyone, Chobra here, and welcome to part 13 of our playthrough for Astral Chain on Nintendo Switch. You will notice that something's a little off, and that's that there's no game audio. It does get fixed in about just about a minute, it looks like. Not even, almost. But basically, I mean, there's no other breakdown for it. Just didn't record the game audio when I booted it up again to continue the playthrough. So we are going to miss a little bit of the ambiance here as we jump into Arc Mall. Just to do a little bit of catch-up off of the last episode, we found our suspect who attacked the ARI Institute, which is where we research the legions. We find out that it's Jenna Anderson, who is a ex-researcher from the Institute, and then she is able to create gates at will, and she runs away through the gate and leaves our protagonist to fight against chimeras, and then disappears towards the mall, which we've also gotten reports that there's been weird stuff going on here, including tentacles and ghostly armor. So we are here to find out exactly what's going on. And hey, look at that, the sound's back.
HQ, we've got the first floor entrance all locked down. There's nobody here, but a lot of something I've never seen before. Some kind of goop.
This is HQ. Roger that, Jin. Keep going. Keep your distance from anything you don't recognize. It could be dangerous.
Well, if they
Focus
tell you
on
not to do it,
finding Jenna.
you gotta make sure you try it. We walk into the goop, nothing really bad happens other than the fact that we seem to not be able to run. Not quite sure yet what that is. And as we start off the mission here, or the case file, as it is called in this game, we continue collecting red matter, or cleaning up red matter, rather.
Goop not exciting enough for you? Stay frosty.
Which, a lot of it has been heavily edited out, of course, a lot of the running and a lot of the collecting, but it is integral to the story of the game, and also not only for completionists, but it affects the points, and sometimes, depending on what we're clearing up, whether it's red matter or collecting items, it affects the upgrades you can get. Of course, we see a lot of the supply boxes as well. So just to clear up some confusion, a lot of the times it looks like those boxes contain just temporary items you use out on the field, which is true. But as we continue to collect more boxes, you'll see that they also contain rare material code, which is what you use to upgrade either your skill tree for your legions or your own equipment like the legatus or your baton. So it's pretty important to continue onward and find every supply box you can, including the ones that are behind goop and ones that might be next to public bathrooms. And if you did miss the beginning of the game, the public bathrooms, or rather the random toilet paper that we use, is a very big collectible in the game. And, whoa, what was that?
Iris startup. Information
What's going on?
Display. Iris shut down.
Welcome! Nice of you to join me, Union dogs.
She's not a big fan.
I suppose you think you have me cornered, but let me assure you, you're here because I want you to be.
And here we have one of the
This
most
is all
straightforward
according
villain
to plan.
monologues I have heard in a long
Your
time.
master's done as he pleases for long enough.
Our master?
I still have a few more preparations to make. But don't worry, I've prepared entertainment. After all, what kind of hostess keeps her guests waiting?
Well, that's nice of you. I'm glad you have your etiquette in order.
HQ, we found the suspect. She's making a run for it. We're on her tail.
So, this is the exact moment when I regretted changing my outfit to this silly looking suit. just feels so out of place.
Jin, hold
And the
up
lappy
there.
hat.
I'm going down to help him.
Jenna's arrest is your top priority.
Roger that. Tailing the suspect. Eyes open.
You would think that I would be the one worried for them, because I'm the only one with a Legion, but it's cool that your sister looks out for you. And we're going to take this moment to talk about how awesome the soundtrack is in this game. Just listen to this track, too. It's just... It's really fitting to the environment as we also battle this, what we believe is a treasure goblin type enemy. To this day, I have not caught one yet or beaten one, so I don't really know what it leads to. But seeing as how they are never explained in game, I can only assume that they give great rewards that are not crucial to beating the game. And then we collect cats as well. There's a lot of different collectibles. The cats are, of course, part of the story with your sister and your dad. And you can go visit them later on as well. They really know their audience. And then we run around the mall, which has been ruined by all this stuff from the astral plane. And hey, there are the tentacles that we've heard reports about.
What the hell? Damn, did something die in here? Like a whole family of skunks?
Oh, Jesus. These must be the tentacles we heard about.
So the rumors were true.
Alright, pay attention to the captions here.
We'll know for sure when we get her back to the station. Let's hurry up and catch her.
Jeez. Ugh, anything to get away from that stank.
Pretty sure Alicia just says stink and not stank, but I'm sure she would want to get away from the stank as well. So now we are going to fight a bunch of tentacles. They make up about 90% of the enemies we fight throughout the mall because they've taken over the entire complex. So we fight tentacles on the ground, tentacles from the walls, tentacles hiding in hallways. Good thing we can slow down time. And we fight tentacles that kidnap us. Thanks to our Legion, we can get out of that one. Fight tentacles that have kidnapped our colleagues. And fight tentacles that are fighting our other colleagues. All sorts of tentacles. And we see a little bit of an issue with the targeting and camera there, which this is the first mission where you really run into some trouble and frustration because of that. And it's a shame because the game's so good, but then you get moments like this. Yeah, I don't really know what happened there either because I couldn't see. But we'll get back to that. We continue fighting more tentacles that now eat chimeras? I don't know what's going on there. And then we take a break trying to walk through the goop. Later I realized that I could probably chain jump over a lot of these, but as we are about to see, chain jumping over gaps. I don't know why I didn't think to do that with the goop. But we do so later. Then we look for some secret passageways before we continue tailing our suspect. And looks like we can interact with this door as long as we have a arm legion. Where could we find an arm legion? Oh, there he is. Now, if you'll remember, the arm legion was Jin's legion, back when we all had control of our own legions. And then they all went rogue, except for mine, which I recaptured, so... That looked like it hurt. Oh no. So I totally thought the arm legion was gonna crush Jin's body, but it turns out he absorbs Jin. So those legs you see, those are Jin's legs. So Jin is now inside the Legion. Kind of like a Gundam. And we are now about to witness probably the most frustrating battle in the entire game. I haven't beaten it yet, but I can only assume that this would be it. And it's not because of anything else
And now the army.
other than the camera angles.
It appears they seek out their previous masters somehow.
Meanwhile, Yosef is really just
Instinct.
considered about his research,
This
but
behavior warrants further
that's
study.
okay.
Be sure
Yosef
to
is
bring
our
the
commander.
Archlegion back. You'll have to subdue it first, of course, but I don't imagine it's anything you can't handle.
Yeah, well, I could handle it a little bit better if I could kind of see what was going on, but the opening seems fine, but then you'll notice that we're fighting in this area which, yeah, connects to this section, which is like a atrium entrance type area to this, I don't know, balcony or cafe, wherever we are. And the issue becomes that the walls are closer together, the ceiling is lower, then you have things like this parasol that get in the way. And for a game where you need to measure distance really well with your Legion and jump back and forth, and there's just a lot of traversing as you combat, and also just a lot of visual effects, it starts to get a little cumbersome. And this battle, I think, gets to a point where some of my friends, it seemed to have ruined their experience with the game, which is a darn shame, because the game's great in a lot of other ways. For me personally, this battle was not enough to, say, change my overall thoughts on it. But, for instance, you'll see that I had trouble chain binding it, because I just couldn't tell if it was close to the wall or whatnot. Probably doesn't help that the Arm Legion is kind of floating, so it's hard to tell if it's how close it is to any type of surface. But anyway, so personally, yeah, not to a point where, let's say, if I have a review of the game that is, hey, I would recommend this to a friend, that conclusion would not change. However, I would 100% agree that that is what is keeping this game from entering the next tier of anyone's review. Also, it just spit Jin out, and now it's fighting on its own. Yeah, so segments like these where it's just so crowded. So it's a darn shame. And then the Arm Legion has moves like this, which is a black hole, which sucks you in. So again, a lot of movement-based combat. And here's the clip we saw earlier where you just don't know where to dodge because you don't know what's going on. I don't mean to harp on it, but it is something I want to bring to attention because this is also such an integral battle to the rest of the story, and it's fairly early on when you compare it to the length of the entire game. And I can only imagine that for a lot of other people too, aside from my friends who have discussed the problem with this camera issue, that it would be a deterrent if they got into the game all excited and they've been enjoying it, and then you run into this and you're like, is this what all boss battles are going to feel like? And that's not true. There are still a couple others that have slightly similar issues, but they actually tend to get a lot better, I think, in the end. But the earlier ones actually seem to suffer from this a lot more. So that's just something I wanted to bring to attention and be very transparent about. Despite me loving the game and enjoying it, even after this fight, it is something that needs to be addressed. Well, for now, enjoy the rest of the battle, and don't go anywhere because this is not the boss battle for this case file. There's more to come afterwards. Finally. Also, if you're wondering why there aren't any health bars for some of these bosses, the answer is that's my fault. So you're supposed to scan enemies, especially bosses, to see their health bars. I think minions don't have them, but
I almost envy your power.
I don't remember that until like halfway through the game.
Come on, Jin, you're slowing down, man. Keep up. damn.
Alright, good job. That's enough. Let's take a breather.
Oh, sorry. Captain, looks like I'm still no match for you.
That's nothing to be ashamed of, Jin. Just means you got more growing to do. You'll get stronger. You're gonna have to.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's just, you're always coming in and bailing me out. Someday, I want to return the favor.
Don't worry about me, Jin. I can wipe my own ass. You know, my kids just got accepted into criminal affairs. Both of them.
No way. Wow, the twins. They sure grow up fast, huh?
Yeah. And I'm not getting any younger either. Don't try to argue with me. I know I'm not the same guy I used to be. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is... Look, if anything happens to me, I need you around to look out for them. Right? They know you. They'll listen to you.
Oh, well, of course. But wait, Captain. Just don't go anywhere until I get a little stronger, okay? Wait and see. Soon I'll be strong enough to take care of all three of you. That's right. I should be getting back to training.
Yeah, you got it. I appreciate it, Jin.
Captain! Oh. Okay, it's you. Wait, where'd it go?
Oh, you mean this? Show off.
Damn. Nice job. Here, I promised Max I'd look out for you. Oh, you know, you remind me more and more of Max every time I'm...
So, obviously that flashback was a little cheesy, but what I can appreciate is that all the characters
no doubt about it.
seem to have very distinct
You're his
characters, right, within them,
anything he
and personalities, so
he pull it off.
I do appreciate that. The NPCs aren't
Saw
just,
that in you.
you know,
Saw
generic
it
and
just-
meshing together.
I've lost count of how many favors I owe him. I knew your dad for years, and I still feel like there's a lot more I could have learned from him.
And yeah, the writing's not, you know, it's not going to win a prize, but
Hey, come on.
I think the game makes up for it
Get in,
for
someone.
all of its crazy antics and visual effects.
Hello.
Clearly they
Little
made their
help
choice.
over here?
Oh, right, yeah, Alicia's crushed by
Alicia?
a wall.
All right, hang tight. I'll
Should
be
probably
right
go help
there.
her out.
No, okay. Sorry. Looks like you're gonna have to help Alicia out too.
And so from here on out, the game takes its time teaching us one by one things we can do with our newly found Legion, which is now the Arm Legion. So far we have the Sword Legion, the Arrow Legion, which was
Thanks for
Akira's,
getting
our
me out of
sisters,
there.
and now the
Granted,
Arm
it's that
Legion,
Legion's
which
fault
is
I was under there
Jin's.
in the first place. Akira went on ahead after Jenna. You'd better go too. You're the only one still fit enough to help out.
All right,
Don't worry about me and Jin. We'll be fine. Go find Akira.
sounds urgent, but we're gonna have to take a slight detour because that's what you can do with that door behind which we find a gate, which means more Chimera battles. So this one is another case of some camera concerns, but it's mostly because they're flying. And playing through the rest of the game, I think a lot of it is also just my inexperience with dealing with flying chimeras, because later on, flying enemies don't seem that bad at all, since I know how to utilize the rest of my skills and my legions and how they interact with each other and how I can combo stuff. For instance, the Arm Legion can actually grab chimeras and bring them to you, and I don't utilize it until much later. And then, of course, I can chain jump to my Legion to get some air combos in. So, again, still pretty early on in the game, and you'll notice that it takes me a while to really get combo systems down. Probably not until, I would say, 2 or 3 case files after this one that you really start to see the potential of the combat system in Astral Chain. So this one's not really, it's not really a boss. It's just a elite, right? It's not a mini boss. It's just an elite and their minions. Of course, counts as a side quest. This one's a red case, so it is a major one, so it still gives us good rep and good points. So we're going to finish battling this Chimera, and then the game continues to take us through a couple sections of the mall to teach us what we can do with the Arm Legion. And I think the Arm Legion is the first one that you really realize that these are all geared very differently and have very different uses both in combat and outside of combat. And now that we've taken care of that Chimera, you're going to see what I mean. So first of all, obviously we saw them opening doors. There's a couple more that we can get rid of. And then there's all this goop. And they tell us that we can wear the Arm Legion. Similar to how the Arm Legion absorbed Jin during that battle earlier, we can now wear it like a Gundam and float around this scoop. And not only float, but fight as the Arm Legion. I mean, look at this 4-step combo. Yeah, it actually looks a lot slower and not as impactful, but trust me, when you do it mid-fight as a combo, it's so satisfying. And then we see this giant Chimera dog lion thing. And this is so we can learn that we can also throw objects with the Arm Legion. And that creates a little mini stun. So we're going to call our Arm Legion, pick that up, and... oh, nope, missed that one. Let's do it again. Ah, there we go. Good damage, good stun. All around great system. You can use that outside of combat as well to break items, or break obstacles rather, to create paths or get some drops as items. But all in all, another lesson learned. So we take care of that Chimera, then we get to the section where we saw the tentacles that eat Chimeras now. So that's disgusting.
This is Akira. I found Jenna. She's on the top floor, somewhere called Azure Plaza. She's tough. Wait, what the hell is that?
What is it?
Whatever it is, it's absorbing chimeras.
What?
I see now. So we weren't just fighting.
So clearly our commander
The suspect
has an idea of what's
is Jenna
going on.
Whatever she's planning, she must be stopped.
But he's not letting us in on it.
You have my authorization to stop her by whatever means necessary.
Roger.
So with a couple concerns in mind, we will clean up the mess here with these tentacles that are also absorbing chimeras. Which then indicates that these tentacles are not chimeras, basically. They're a different type of being that is still not from this world. And then we run upstairs to the very top, and look at that. It is time to fight Jenna Anderson.
How sad. This is how you live, following orders without question, without thought.
And ladies and gentlemen,
And you call yourself human.
this is the boss battle for this case at the Arc Mall.
Maybe you're happy with your
Enjoy the
life.
fight. It's a long one.
Advice. Give it up. Come along quietly. Your power is not the gift you think it is. One day, it will cost you everything.
So this is a legion. The power to control chimeras will only go so far.
So you two are... Ah, I see. As for you, you'll make a fine trial run.
Homunculus Alpha.
Neuron officers on the first floor. Akira needs immediate assistance. The auto-defibrillator isn't working. It must have been damaged in the fall. Hurry! Akira's vitals are dropping!
Olive, this is Alicia. I'm on my way, okay? But somebody's gotta come help Jin out of here.
No, fine. I'll manage on my own. Akira's in way worse shape than I am. Don't you dare let me slow you down.
Can it with the heroic. Sit tight where you are for a while. I'll be back for you once Akira's stable.
Well, that was a roller coaster.
Okay, I'm with Akira. It's a... I'm gonna administer first aid.
I couldn't.
Hey, just zip it.
A medical chopper is on its way to the mall. Bring anyone who needs medical attention to the front entrance. All Neuron officers still in the mall, report back to HQ ASAP. Repeat, all officers return to HQ.
Well, that makes 2 family members now that have sacrificed themselves for me, in a sense. So the game hits you pretty hard now and then, but that is going to be it for this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, if you liked the video, let me know what your thoughts are of Astral Chain down below in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more gaming with Chobra.